How's it going, everyone? Hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome back to another Web Dev Junkie video. So in this video, I'm going to add on to the existing application that we are working on called DevTubers, where you can basically quickly search through all the different developer-related YouTube channels and see what videos they've published recently. In this video, we are actually working on implementing this left blue panel here. So it's a panel where it shows all the channels that you can kind of subscribe to or watch, and you can filter them down. So up here, I can type in like Curry, and that'll give me Caleb Curry. Or I could maybe type in, let's see, what else could I type in? I don't know whose channel this is, but let's type it in. We can then click it and then kind of view the latest videos that they got. There's a couple of things that I want to kind of tweak along the way, but if you are interested in watching how to build this in Next.js using React, because I think you could probably learn quite a bit if you're a beginner at Next.js or React and you're looking to watch someone else build a real life application, I guess. All right, let's just go ahead and jump to it. So for those of you who don't have context, this is an application built with Next.js, and I'm trying to just display all the dev YouTubers, and you can easily like filter through the channels, find videos that are within a certain range. Check the beginning of the series if you want more information, but I'm going to try to build out this blue filter channel. So the last video, I tried to build out this little video channel view. So basically it shows all the videos of a channel. More specifically, I think it shows like the latest 20 or 30 videos. It doesn't show all of them, but we could spend more time trying to style out to make it match, but I think this is good enough. Like when you click on this link, it'll open up a new tab to the channel. And then if you click on a video, it doesn't really do anything. But I need to make this panel first of all. So let's go to our app and try to find the equivalent code over here. So if I go to my UI folder, which is where the Next.js application is kind of located, if I go to public and go to, if I go to pages and there's a channels page, that's the kind of one we're looking at. What I think we can do here is on the channels page itself, we could probably add a new component here to display that channel filter panel. So I'm going to make a components folder in here. So I'm going to say components. And inside of this folder, I'm going to put a new component called channel filter.js. I don't know why I keep on saying channer. So we got a channel filter component, and we probably want to create a functional component here. So what we can do is basically render this out. So let's just make sure it's working first of all. So I'm gonna say testing, and then over here, I'm gonna go try to render this out here with a channel filter, and then make sure I auto import this as well. So at this point, I should be able to go back and I see testing show up here. It's a little small, so let me zoom in. But in order to achieve this design that we have in Figma, we probably want to do either like a CSS grid or maybe some type of flex box so that the channel filter shows up on the left and then all the stuff shows up on the right. So let's take a step back to the code, and instead of nesting the channel filter inside the channel page, maybe we should put it at a higher level and just wrap all this in a we'll move channel page up to, let me make a new one. I'm gonna say channel page wrapper, right? And all this is just, we're kind of playing around refactoring code. Nothing I write is gonna be like perfect. It takes time and iterations to like make stuff look nice and be functional. And let's go ahead and try to style that. I've just been doing BIM. So if I were to go to my styles and go to my channel page, I could just style that and give that a display of flex. And I think that should by default put them side by side. Yep. And then secondly, we could start styling our channel filter component, which again, I'm just going to add a new style sheet here called channel filter. And inside of globals, let's just import that. Might come back and refactor this, use style components or something, but this is what I'm doing for right now. And inside of my channel filter component, let's give this a class called like channel filter panel so that we can style it. And let us just go ahead and open up the CSS for that. So if I style this channel filter panel class, I could give it like a width of 200 pixels. And we want to change the background color to match whatever this happens to be, which is this. So let's give it a background of that. and a height probably of 100%. Hopefully this does what we want. So if we go back to our application now, might have to refresh the page. I should probably also load up my DevTools in case it's caching stuff. Whoops. Complaining about keys. I keep clicking on channel coding garden. All right, so right now it's not fully styling what we want. So let's just go ahead and inspect what's going on here. So we should have a channel page wrapper, and inside that wrapper we have a channel filter panel. Let me zoom in a little bit. And if you can see here, it does have a width of 200. It has a background of this, and it has a height of this. But for some reason, it is not actually applying that stuff. It is actually, you see the background is actually blue here. I wonder if the width is not working. Okay, so just look, it was looking like it wasn't working, but in fact, I think it does work. Maybe we can give this a bigger width of like 600 or something. And for the height, maybe we should do like a 1 VH. So that should hopefully 100 VH maybe? That should be the full height. So let's see if that looks okay. All right, so that's a step in the right direction. We're gonna have to probably mess around with the styles to get this to work right. And am I zoomed in too much? Let me zoom out. And what is the width of this thing? The width is 334. So I think if I made this 350, that's probably close enough. Okay, maybe that's not good. Let's keep it at like 500. Again, this could probably be some dynamic value that expands as you widen. The one thing you'll notice is that as you scroll down, like, we kind of want this to be in a scrollable container. So I should probably go back and style the channel page. So let me move that over here. And on the channel page, we have a channel page class, which we are not styling. So what we could do is try to style that. And we can also give that a height of like 1 VH, or 100 VH, I mean. And I think we could probably give it like a overflow Y of scroll. And let's see if that actually works. Okay, so notice now, when we scroll, it's actually just scrolling this little right panel. This is staying consistent, which is kind of what we want. And I think we're in a better position. So let's go back to our design and try to figure out how to do this. So first of all, we have a header here with this color and a font size of 24. So if I go to my channel filter component, I could probably start making some more stuff here. So right here, I'm going to add an H1, and I am going to basically give it text that says filter channels. I'll do that. We can give it a class name as well. Call it like channel filter panel header. I'll call it title, I guess. Just so we can kind of style that. And then we need to give that a font size of 24, color 666, font size 24 pixels, and a color of hashtag 666. Let me undo that. All right, so I do have to, I think, refresh the page. What's going on? Oh, I didn't save my component. Make sure you save your components. Let me move this over there so you can actually see what's going on. So that looks a little bit better. I think the font needs to be not bold. So let's just go and give this a font weight of normal. Go back. And that looks better, I think. We could also give this some padding. So this looks like it's like 20 pixels of padding on the left. So I'm going to say on the panel itself, I can say padding left, 20 pixels. And that looks a little bit better. I think there's some padding going on here, so this is why it looks nice. And now we should probably add this input box. So let's add an input box here. We can basically add an input. I'll say input, class name, going to be channel filter panel. Call it search. That should be a good enough name. And we could style that as well. So for this component, this DOM element. We want to basically give it some padding on the top and bottom of maybe 10. So padding top 10 pixels, padding bottom is 10 pixels. And then on the left and the right, maybe do like 20 and 20. Okay. Now the font size of this could be, again, this is 24, it seems. So let's just give it like a font size of 24, very similar to the title. And we should probably give the blue panel some padding to the right. So, you know, I'm going to give this padding, where's this padding right as well. It looks a little bit better. And you'll notice this has some rounded edges. It looks like it's 20 here. So I can go border radius 20 pixels, and that should round it out. There's a strange border that we have here, so we definitely need to get rid of that. So I can say border is none, outline is none. Okay. And as I type, we could probably do something. Oops. As I type, it looks pretty good. So what else do we need? We want to basically show or display all the channels here in this panel. So one thing we could do is, I think we have access to all the channels already. We just need to kind of render them out. So let's just go here. And as a refresher, we have this function called get static props, which happens to have the channel info. And then it also has all the videos on that channel. So what we could also do is have like channels displayed here. And that we could probably use in our component here. So I'll say channels. And what this needs to do is basically have an array of all the channels. So luckily we have this channels JSON object, which has, it's an object of all the different channels basically. But what we want to do is we want to take the first video of that channel and get the author and probably the channel ID. So let's just go ahead and try to figure out how to do that. So for here, what we could probably do is we could do maybe an object.keys on channels. And then we could do a map over that. So we have like the key. And then for each channel that we find, we could just say channels of ID, or of key, I mean. And then we want to get the first video. And then we want to get the author. Okay, so let's just do that. Hopefully this will work. If not, we will figure it out. So I think what I could do just to verify this is working is let's go to our React thing, whatever it's called, your components tab, and let's see if we can basically figure out what props are going to be passed in. So first of all, we need to pass the channels to the channel filter. So I'm going to pass that in just like that. Just add a property here. And then inside of our channel filter, we want to make sure we accept that. And we could probably do something with it. So let's verify that that's actually getting passed in. It looks like we're getting undefined here. So we need to look into why. So let's go back to this and start doing some console logs or something. So object.keys at channels.map. This should basically be an array of all the channels. So I wonder if I'm missing something. Let me go ahead and print that out. So this is giving back all the data we need. And now it's showing up. So I guess I just had to do a page refresh. So that's kind of frustrating. I'm not sure why. Sometimes you have to refresh the page and other times you don't. I think if you mess with the get static props, that's when you need to refresh your page. If anyone is familiar with Next.js, maybe give me some insight as to what's going on. But now we have a list of all the channels here and we can kind of loop through them and probably render out the channel information. You know what? Yeah, so we're trying to like make it look like this. So let us do a map inside of our channel filter component. And we could basically make a class called channel list. And let me do this and say like channel list. Okay, so what we can do in this is we could render out a map. So I can say channels, map, hit the channel, and for each one, oops, can't type right now. Make sure you do those curly braces, I forgot those. We could return some JSX here, and we could basically return a channel element. Notice here, this should be auto-completing. There we go. Right, what am I missing? Another parenthesis? So let's try to render out the channel.author, okay? All right, so now we have a list of all the authors here. And notice we have an issue with the it's scrolling off the page again. So what we could do is go back to the channel filter component here. So go to the panel, and same thing we did with the channel page. Let's just give it an overflow Y of scroll. And I think that should get us to where we want to be. So now we have all these components or all these channels displayed over here. And we just need to do some styling and probably, why is it going off the page there? We'll have to figure that out. Maybe it needs some more width or something. We'll have to figure out this stuff in a bit. This is the width being hard-coded 700 is kind of making me cringe, but we'll figure it out. So we have all the channels here, and what we want to do is basically give them some padding and a fixed height of, what is this? Height of 70 maybe? So we can style the channel. So let's grab that style, and we could say the height is 70 pixels. We could say the background is white. And what else can we do? I guess the background wouldn't be anything. Let's see what the font size is. The font size again is 24. The font size 24 pixels. And that looks better already. We probably want to align the text vertically in the center. So what I could say is display flex and align items of center. And I believe that should center those things. So let's hover over it. It looks pretty centered to me. And one thing you'll notice is that we also need the icon here. So if we go back to our JSON data, which is here, there is a author thumbnail. So I think we want to include that in our props that we pass in. So we could do this as well. Okay, I'm going to put a to-do, refactor this ugly code. There's something about this that just kind of smells, so I need to go back and refactor it, but it's not that big of a priority right now. As long as it works, sometimes that's good enough. So we are trying to display that author thumbnail, which I should probably rename it to thumbnail. This is kind of a bad name, but again, more technical debt we can kind of address later. So let's go ahead and go to our channel filter component, and what we want to do here is we want to display a image. And the source could be channel.author thumbnail. And let's see how that looks. So I don't know. I think I need to do a hard refresh because I did change the props. And there you have it. You have all the thumbnails of the people, of the channel people, of the YouTubers, of the DevTubers. I can't speak today. Let's add a class name to this and call it channel filter panel thumbnail. And we can style that here. So let's just go ahead and give that a width of, let's go to our Figma and see what the width is. It looks like it's a 60 by 60, so I can say 60 pixels and a height of 60 pixels. And I think there's a way in CSS to like maintain the aspect ratio, but hopefully it's all good. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now on the channel itself, we should probably add some margin to the right of this, of the thumbnail. So I can say margin right is 20 pixels. And that should move it over some. And I think for overflow X on the panel itself, let's just give it like a hidden so that you can't scroll over left and right. It just kind of truncates it. So this is looking pretty good so far. One thing we want to be able to do is, let's give some margin, but like let's add padding between these things. So the search bar, I could add some padding over here. So I can say margin bottom 20 pixels. There we go. And now what you want to do is when you hover over these things, these elements, we should probably just change the background color to white. So let's go ahead and add a hover effect to this one. And we can say background is white. Okay, that looks pretty good. I would rather it be the full. Notice how it's not really the full, it's getting cut off. We could probably address that in a second. Alright, so that's because I added padding to the actual panel, but we won't worry about that. So when you click on it, what we want to do is we want to kind of navigate the user to the next channel. So I think we have the channel ID included, do we not? Yeah, we do have the channel ID. So what we could do is when the user clicks on one of these channels, we could simply just redirect them to a new channels page. So what I'm going to do is I am going to basically, I guess I can wrap all this in a link. I think there's a way to do it in Next.js. Let me make sure I do this correctly. Looks like you need to import a link. So let's do that. And then you want to wrap whatever you got inside a link component. So this whole div, if you click anywhere on this div, you want to basically redirect the user to that channel ID. So let's try channels of slash, we're going to interpolate this. So let's do string interpolation here. And we need to channel.channel ID. And make sure you do backticks here. Kind of forgot that. So let's add the backticks. I think that should be okay. Let's look. So if you click on one of these now, it should. Okay, I'm noticing that when you hover over these, the cursor is not a pointer. So I'm going to go ahead and say thumbnail. Actually, channel, I'm going to say cursor is pointer. Okay. All right, so if you hover over and you click on one of them, it should redirect you to that channel, which it just did. So notice that it's actually changing the routes. We are viewing the different YouTubers here, and we're making some progress on all this. One thing I don't like is as you click them, for some reason, like this left bar is actually shrinking and growing. So we'll have to figure out that. Might have to figure out a better way to do this, this layout. But I think it looks pretty good so far. Other than this needs padding. Let's actually add some padding to that. So if I go to the channel page, I think this should have like padding. Do 40 pixels and see how that looks. Okay. That was the wrong thing. Let's go back. And what do we want to add padding to? We want to add padding to the channel. That's the image. We probably want to wrap all this. Channel page inner, I guess. I don't know. Let's style that. We have another class called channel page inner, and that can have a padding of 40 pixels. And we can see how that looks. So it's still, it looks a little cluttered, but yeah, we can work on this in a little bit. I don't know if I want the images to look like that or if it's better to look like this, but I think we made some progress. I'm going to do one last quick thing. So in this filter, when the user types, I want to basically filter out the channels and only show things that contain what you're typing in. So let's try to do that real quick. So let's go to our channel filter component, and we are going to add a useState class here. So I'm going to say const our useState hook. I'm going to say search is our variable, and set search could be our function. And we are going to call useState here, and that is going to be equal to an empty string at first. Okay, let me make sure I auto import this and save. So when someone types into the input box, what we want to do is basically set that state. So I could say on change, we can call that search of e.target.value, and then that should change our state variable as the user types. And now what we want to do is basically these channels, we want to filter them based on if they match. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull this out, this logic. I'm going to make that a function called const it channels. target filtered channels. So it's a function that's going to return channels.filter, and it's going to return the channel whose author.to lowercase contains, I think it's a contains, or is it includes? But anyway, I'm gonna say search.to lowercase. So super messy right now, but that is basically looping through all the channels, taking what you typed in the search box, lowercasing the author name and the search input, and then checking if the author matches what you put. And then also, if they have an empty string here, we just want to return true. So I could say if search is equal to an empty string, then we return true. Otherwise, we return that. And I think this should work. Let's replace this with that function now and go back. So if I type in C, it crashes. So we are making some good progress. Contains is not a function. I think it's includes, maybe. Let's try C-A-L-E-B. Cool. How about coding? Let's type a garden. All right, there you go. It's a little slow, so we'll have to figure out how to make that more performant. Being performant in React is something that I'm kind of new at. I need to learn more about how to make things more efficient, but it probably doesn't help that we have maybe 300 channel divs being displayed here, which you think would be pretty easy to display with vanilla JavaScript, but with React, sometimes you get some slowdowns. So yeah, you can basically type in whatever you want. So dev tips. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I'm almost in like 30 minutes, but I hope you guys learned something from this. We basically learned how to style 2 different panels using Flexbox. We made a panel where you can search through all the channels by typing in into a search box and using some type of computed function in React to basically filter down the channels that display. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff. So if you like this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up because it helps my channel grow. Be sure to leave me a comment below if you have any suggestions of how I could probably better write my Next.js application or write my code. Again, just a forewarning, a lot of the code I write, first iteration is just kind of sloppy, and then I come back and refactor it, and then I might refactor it a couple times, right? So it takes a lot of effort to produce quality code, but just make sure you put aside some time to actually refactor your code. And then, like always, if you're new to this channel, be sure to give me a subscribe and press that bell icon, because I'm going to be publishing videos like this in the future that can help you become a better React developer or a web developer in general.